Thank you so much for watching. This is the Vuyo Show coming to you live from New York City, serving you your daily dose of global goodness. And as you can hear, I'm in New York, so there's always something happening in the city. And I'm so excited for what we have in store for you today. We have a very special episode with a very special lady who is coming all the way from South Africa. And she is a South African sensation. And I'm really excited to introduce you to her because I know you're going to absolutely love her. Not only that, but she's also a globally nominated actress who has been serving the television, media, and entertainment space with all her gifts and her talents and giving them to us on a beautiful and a very extraordinary package. So you're going to love her. But before I introduce you to her, I'm going to invite you to please search us, find us, follow us, engage with us on social media at the Vuyo Show, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or X, TikTok. We are there. And also like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Vuyo Show. And of course, you can watch some of these episodes, or rather really all of these episodes on the Vuyo Show. On the VN streaming platform, or you can check it out on your Roku, on the Enterprise Theater, on the VN TV channel. Now, all the formalities are out the way. Now I'm going to be introducing our guest. She is in the studio, in our virtual studio, as I said, she's joining me all the way from South Africa. So she couldn't be here in studio with me, but she will be in studio with me. So please, ladies and gents, I love doing very special introductions for our guests because they are amazing. And just like this incredible lady joining, all born and bred and buttered in Johannesburg, South Africa, she's joining me now in studio. Help me welcome Thuthuka Mthembu, ladies and gents.
Wow, am I in? Oh my goodness.
You are in.
Oh, I hope
You
the
are
sound is
within.
good.
The
Sorry
sound.
about that.
Do you mind tilting your camera a little bit
That way.
that's it. That's
My
fantastic.
God.
You look. I love the hair.
Thank you
I
so
love
much.
the hair.
Thank you. Thank
Is it a
you.
character hair or is it your hair?
No, darling, this is all me. This is all me.
Okay. Because I know you're on set, so I'm like, are you still in the character right now, or?
That's it. There's something on, you know?
I love it.
Whatever
I
works.
love it. Now, in my introduction, I kind of said that you are an actress, and I use the word specifically globally nominated actress. And on the show, I love all things global, so I love using that term and using that word a lot. But I'm not just saying that word because it's just there. It's actually true. You are a globally nominated actress, right? Do you say that often? Do you mention it from time to time around?
I think I haven't as yet, and I'm looking for the
Uh-huh.
boldness to throw it around the way you do, because I need to, because the only way these things happen is when we say them before they do. And they may sound like foolishness at first, but the truth is, the power of life and death lies in the tongue. I'm Christian through and through. So I know that if we're going to see it, we're going to say it first. So I need to. I honestly need to start
Yes.
calling myself a globally nominated talent and an internationally nominated actress.
Exactly, it is. I mean, you did receive a nomination for the VN Global Media and Entertainment
Yes.
Awards. So that's already has manifested in reality. So I'm really excited about that, and I think that's something that we need to start putting out. And someone said this other day, they were like, "Vuyo, I use this term so much that I'm now, even when I'm talking about to bookers or I'm talking about gigs, I'm like, don't forget that I was nominated."
For VN Global
You
Awards.
know?
Yeah.
Exactly. So throwing it around. But thank you so much for joining me. I'm super excited to be having this conversation. I think it's really going to help anyone who's watching understand a little bit of the South African media industry, but also your positioning in the industry and how a talent like yourself really deserves placement in global spaces and global stages. So I hope that you're ready for this conversation at home, and you as well, Tutuka.
Oh, wow. I am incredibly ready for this conversation. I'm so flattered. Again, forgive me if you hear a little bit of noise. My home is under construction right now, so I had to find a spot quickly.
Yeah.
But I really, really do appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation with you today. Thank you always for seeing and for recognizing my brand and for holding it at such high regard. I have been nominated for a VN Global Award. It was my first nomination as an actress, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much for having me once
Of
again.
course. Of course. We having this is exclusive. You're the first person to know this. I'm just putting it out there. But we're having our awards in New York City next year. So
And we're gonna be there.
and we're gonna be
New York
there.
City,
That's just
Toronto.
putting it out there. But
Yeah.
Tutuka, you've had an incredible journey. I mean, when the name Thuthuka Mthembu comes up in any conversation in any room, it's always gleaming with pride and joy. It's always gleaming with an excitement because of the amount of talent that you have. When did you really know that there was something inside of you? Like when did you realize that you know what? I'm actually talented, and in a very gracious way. Because for you to be able to take the steps that you've taken in the industry, I believe it takes a lot of self belief to have been able to do that. So when did you know? When did it come to your realization that you know what, I got this?
I think I've always had a very strong innate sense that I was going to be somebody. I didn't know what, and having come from a challenged or a difficult background, for me, I used to daydream a lot growing up, and I think it was a form of escapism. I know it was, not that I can put the words to it. I know that it was a means of escape to escape like the reality that I was living in at the time. And so my mind has always been active. My mind has always been an active participant. It's always collaborated with just like the desires of my heart to live it out, in the world of my heart and my headspace. So I think just that's when I believe I knew just the ability to think yourself out of a difficult situation at the time to like this hasn't manifested outwardly yet, but this is what I see and this is what feels good to me. I think I knew then that I had the power to create this reality physically for me to enjoy, for other people to receive, and hopefully be inspired by it one day. So I would say that because the mental fortitude it takes to not kind of give in to your circumstances and to believe that you have been created for more, that higher is in fact calling, that too much is given, much is required, that heavy is the head. All of those things are necessary. That quality, that trait of being able to think beyond where you are is so important for someone who's been placed in a situation where they would have to use that as a tool or as a weapon to paint the reality that they would want to see for themselves, a paintbrush to the future that they'd want to create. So yeah, I think from a very
I
young
love
age.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's such a you use the word meant like fortified or mentally fortify your mind. And I'm Christian as well, so I recently read a scripture that spoke about how the righteous are. It's basically righteous to be bold. Like and
Mm.
to quote the scripture, it said the righteous are as bold as a lion. And I was like,
Yes,
oh
I
my
heard that
god.
verse today. Oh my goodness. I was
I was like,
listening
what do
to
you
a sermon
mean?
and I heard that. Oh
And
my God.
it resonates, and I think with what you're saying, that amount of boldness and kind of standing firm in the fact that to be bold is to be righteous. For me to be
Yes.
actually righteous is for me to take boldness and be firm in it, right? With what you're saying. But what I found within the media space specifically, and I could definitely relate with that, using media, using television as an escapism form, really to kind of get away from the space and the environment that in which you grew up in. What about it when you were growing up? What about your circumstance made you want to escape? What was the circumstance that you were in that you felt like I need to escape from this and using the medium of television or film to escape?
So I'd say the escapism, because at the time I didn't know that I'd be going into media.
Mm-hmm.
Well, personally, perhaps my family could see, but personally as a child, I didn't know what it is that would get me out of the space, but I knew I was called for so much more. And so my circumstances weren't good in a sense. I'll give you well, not even an example, I'll tell you what it was. So I grew up very early on in my life. I spent some time in Johannesburg and Hillbrow. So if you know you, bro, you know that it's a very
Yeah.
just it's a very hopeless situation to a degree, but it does have the drive, just the force of people who are still believing for a better life. So I'd say that those are my circumstances. Growing up in Hillsborough, I went to Saxonwood Primary, which is Saxonwood Halton. So I think that's the other thing that helped me believe in the reality that I wanted, because I was going home to one situation, but I could see it existing. So I was existing the dualities of those two circumstances for me was so important because it meant that I know where I'm at, but I have a template, I have an idea, I have a picture of a home that's together, a dynamic that is healthy, and it's got mom and a dad, and they live in a like suburban, like it looks picture perfect almost. So it's like that did also aid my process, because I had reference for the things that I wanted and the things that I was believing for. So, well,
I like the word reference.
yeah.
No, continue what you were going to say.
I mean, I'd say a small part of which, because the things that I hope for now, I have eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. But at the time, it was really good for me to believe that at a basic level, the ideal, the life that I want to create for myself, that I can see my friends have, it's attainable. You know what I mean? I get glimpses of it. I can see it. I can touch. I can smell it. So yeah.
So I think the reference to that, again, you use the word, I had a reference, I had a template, I saw it, right? And I think that's what I think for when I was seeing it and when I was growing up, it was, I didn't see it around me, but there was television, there was film, there was movies that showed me, not necessarily, you know what I mean? So it's important to be as close to it, see it, hear it, feel it, experience it, even though you're not in it, but
Mm.
it'll get you closer to understanding, which for you it was seeing it from other, from the school you went to, from the kids that you engaged with, that hey, it's actually possible. So I really like that. So it's important to have a reference.
Yes,
And yeah,
100%.
and then fast forward to that, you bump into the space of media, and now people watch you to escape their realities.
Wow.
Right?
Which is so
um
insane looking at it like that. Yeah.
yeah, so you create those realities now, and what does that even feel like, knowing that the worlds and the experiences that you create in any capacity now within the life that you've built and created in the career that you have, creates that for someone else? Or is that something that's not even cognitive for you?
I was about to say that, to a degree, you understand the work that you do, but I don't think I've had a conversation with someone in this way in so long that I've had to reconcile the fact that I do this, um, and I offer someone some sense of relief in a way, you know.
Yeah,
So
I'm
I think
listening.
only, oh sorry, so I think only now that I'm having a conversation with you, it's like I've never had to reconcile those two worlds. That to think that for me it existed at some point, and now I get to offer someone that sense of relief. So I only now am I like fully cognizant of it, and thank you for that, for bringing me to the awareness of that, because I think it's so important. Because in our journey, we often become very complacent, on our walk, and some things just the things that aren't normal or you don't see every day, they become your everyday, and so you lose like the sensitivity or the mindfulness of what it means for somebody to experience you the way that they do. And I think like we need to always remain sensitive to that. But yeah, yeah.
What I've also found interesting now that I'm here in very different country, very different city, from South Africa, is that I also even ask myself, do people like to go to actresses, do creatives know that they are also the mirror of a South African society for the rest of the world? Because there's no other way that the rest of the world would know about South Africa, know about the experiences of South Africa, unless they see it on TV, unless they watch it via content. So even beyond the people that watch you and want to escape, but there's also those who the only way they'll understand who we are as a people, as a society, is by watching Tutuka on television. or watching Tutuka on a show, right? So you create
Good, yeah.
it's in itself a duality.
It is. And I think it's so beautiful that you say that because when how you guys have traveled and you go to all of these nations, people then use you as the reference. You know what I mean? So I think it's so important to always take pride in our stories. As South Africa too, I think we come from a beautiful nation. We have our
Yeah.
issues, but which country doesn't? I believe that we are a country and we have a people. I don't even like to use the word potential because so much of it goes dormant, and you've heard so much about it growing up. You got so much potential, but some of the time you don't even know how to tap into that or what that even means. But I think we've got like so much like awakening and enlightening to do to like who we truly are. You know what I mean? As a
Yeah.
country, and what we mean as a place in Africa that other countries look up to. So I think it's also very important that when we are in the spaces that we're in as storytellers, to remember that we too have a story that's as worthy to be heard, to be seen. It's as exciting, as thrilling, as riveting as the American story, as the Indian story
Yeah.
in Bollywood, as the Nigerian story. They've got Nollywood, and not always to try to like glorify or fantasize over another ideal, but maybe challenge ourselves to work towards our own.
And what story do you want to tell the world? What story is very close to your heart? Or voice would you say that you want to resonate with that the rest of the world will hear from, and it's specific to you that only you can tell?
I don't think I even have the specifics of that story right now because I never like to kind of like cap the parameters, of what I can do, of how far my reach and my voice can go. But I do feel a very strong sense of responsibility as a filmmaker, first and foremost, and as a storyteller, to just always advocate for the African story. I think that whatever our story, we've got so many heritage stories from, and not just South African ones. I'm not just talking about your Shaka Zulus. We've got your Mujajis, your Rain Queens, and we've got stories of Mansa Musa and many others. Our stories are far-reaching as a continent, and I think that as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, my greater purpose and um, my larger responsibility is to provide spaces and a place for Africans to exist truthfully and authentically in the stories that are important to them. Having them be told also, because I think that's largely important, that we need to have the manpower to be able to find
Yeah.
our stories, to distribute them, to publish them. We need to be able to
Yeah.
back ourselves. So, because nobody's going to tell a story like an African story the way we do. Nobody's going to preserve and conserve it the way we would. And I think that's also another thing that I want to go into as I grow, that I am destined to do is to preserve and to conserve the stories from our music, because that too is a form of storytelling, to our books, to our media, to visually,
Yeah.
and not just in the stories that are fiction, live concerts. I love that stuff. The other day I searched an artist and I couldn't find any of their live work. You know what I mean? How do we support the artists of today who are going to turn into our generational artists? That if our kids ever want to look back on how to put together production by a legendary artist, where do they find this work? Where are the archives of these kind of like performances, like performative work? Where does this exist?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
And
think that's my story.
as a true thespian, I know that there's always this desire to feel it, to feel a performance,
Yes.
to see a performance, right? And you give me vibes of singing. You sound like you can sing. You know when people have a voice when they speak, you sound like you can actually sing.
I get that a lot. At some point, I think I could, but yeah, my voice has been through quite a bit, so I don't know if I've got that ability yet.
Yeah. And if there was a role, one particular role that you'd say, if I would love to play this role, right? And I think this is a question that actors and actresses get asked a lot, but I think it reveals a lot about the capacity of the actor, and it reveals a lot about what they believe that they can do, and how far they can go as a performer. So for you, what would you say is that one role? What does that role look like? And if you were to kind of draw their, character bio, what would that look like?
You know, the beautiful thing about the time that we're in is that a lot of these stories are being told. So a lot of them already do exist in one form or the other. But
Yeah.
I would definitely say, because I really, really do enjoy her work, I would hope to that someone could write something about Toni Morrison and I could get to like star in a way, you know. I don't know what, but like I know she books like Beloved. I love Beloved, so I could imagine myself in something, in an adaptation of a book by Toni Morrison. That's like one of my dreams. Yeah.
And as a filmmaker, who knows, you might even be part of creating that story.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
But what would you say is the most important part of being an artist, of being a creative, right? I think it's something that's thrown around quite a lot, but the true test of being an artist lies underlined within the work, and you've proven over the years that you've got what it takes to really, when one thinks about the craft, that your name could pop up right next to it. But for you, what does being an artist mean, and what does it look like in the greater scheme of things for you?
For me, being an artist means service. It's
Mm.
a service. It's how you said earlier on that someone watches you to escape. It's not a gift, and I think this is why a lot of people have stumbled into it. And the people that do it most truly or most authentically are the people who understand that it is that the art is servitude. You know, it's your offering. You know, you live as a vessel. Life is meant to flow through you, and you just have to allow it. You know, it means that when you are not in service, you're not operating in purpose. You know, if I were not to be doing this, I don't know what I'd be doing. And so, yeah, it means that I embody a character. I bring dead things to life. I lay them down. You know, I let them live beyond me. We've got artists, especially in South Africa. We've got your Joe Mapelas, who's Ustum for the rest of his life. That in itself is a service. You know, you risk people never getting to know you because they know who you embodied. You know, and that in itself is laying down your own life to take up someone else's, to give a life to someone else. And in
Yeah.
itself, it gives you life. You know, but I think more than anything, it's a service. It means that when you come home and you want to tap out, you want to check into something else, my gift is at your service.
For
Yeah.
you, what does tapping in and tapping out look like, and what do you use? Is there a particular formula? Is there a particular thing that you do to um to tap out and tap in? Because I can only imagine having to replicate and be these individuals that are not you, right? They it's not Ututuka. So what do you do? Is there a practice that you do? Is there something that you do to be able to go in and go out of these people that you might not even know?
You know, I get asked this question so many times, and yes, we got method actors and all of that stuff, but I'm not a method actor, so I don't always find it very difficult to sometimes get out of it. At least I think not. But sometimes the emotional like burden of it can be it's very demanding emotionally. So I think rest for me is more than anything. If you give me enough time outside of having to be a character, sooner or later I can recalibrate and like assimilate back to who I truly am. Because though the work that we do can be very demanding of yourself, I think look, no one is really a villain unless you're like purely evil. You know what I mean? Or to some degree, things like that. But I think it's for me, it's just rest. If I can get rest, I'm able to find myself again. Again, apologies
Yeah.
about the noise.
No, it's all good. So I think it's all, and I think I asked that question specifically because anyone who's watching, and who might be wondering if there is anything particularly different in how art is expressed in South Africa that might be different to anywhere else in the world. Would you say there is? Would you say there's something particularly distinct in South Africa than that would say the rest of the world doesn't have or has within the
Oh,
arts?
oh no. I mean, other than like the policies and the jurisdictions and the legalities of it all, like the legal talk, um, no, I think every gift is true and has its own space and has a place where it can exist, where it can be received. I think no gift is better than the other. You know, I think a true artist knows this. That
Yeah.
all our gifts are meant to be embraced. Yeah. But in terms of just like I said, the legalism and everything else in between, there's quite a few differences. I think that's another thing I want to advocate for as an artist.
Yes, yes. Which
Yeah,
I believe there's a lot of work being done now that hopefully in the future South Africa will look different within the creative space within those spheres, because it's important that we create a framework that will be sustainable for artists, that will be sustainable for creatives, surpassing and beyond us. Right? We saw in the US there was a strike for months where artists were standing up for what it is that they was, that they were believing was rightfully theirs as artists, writers, actors. And it extended for such a long time that I was like, oh my goodness, that they believe so much in what it is that they have to offer that they're willing to not back down. So I think we definitely have a lot of work to still do into ensuring that we establish those frameworks and that we ensure that there's, even beyond us, there's a sustainability as an art form, as an industry, collectively, right?
100%, 100%.
Yeah. So we still have a lot of work to do. But
We
what
do.
is,
But
uh-huh.
no, no, nothing. I just feel so
Okay.
bad because I'm on 2% battery right now.
Okay, we're wrapping this up. We're wrapping this up. We're
Okay,
wrapping
okay,
this
okay,
up.
okay.
What does Tutuka look like in a global sphere? And this show is really focused on not only for the audience to put themselves in a global framework, but even for the guests who come onto the show. We've had conversations about brand expansion, being global as a concept, as a mindset. Are you fully in that mindset? Do you feel like you have fully tapped into a global mindset and are ready to take that next step?
You know, so
They're giving you a
really,
round of applause.
yeah. Yes, I believe so. You know, and I don't think you can ever be fully ready for something. I think there are no markers for readiness per se, but it's just knowing in yourself that you're ready to take the next step. And as Christians, we're believers of faith. So once you
Tutuka, can you hear me? I think we might have lost Tutuka there for a second. And she was on such a wonderful tip about just the importance of tapping into that global mindset, of embodying that global mindset, which is what she's doing in the art space and in the art industry. I'm so, so, so glad that Tutuka was able to join us. Thank you at home for tuning in. That's how we do it. Monday to Friday, right here on the Vuyo Show, coming to you live from New York City. I think it's such an important conversation that we've had with the Tutuka today. And I'm hoping that you were inspired and that you are going to get up and get your global mindset on. And of course, ensuring that you get to do your task and your responsibility in the world, which is to serve your purpose. Thank you once again for tuning in. Join us again on Monday for another riveting episode of the Vuyo Show, coming to you live from New York City. I'd like to hear from you, so do share your thoughts, comments, and opinions on this episode right there on our social media. And of course, do like, share, and subscribe our YouTube channel. I'll see you all on Monday from me to you and Tutuka, all the way from South Africa, with so much love. It is goodbye. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you next time. Cheers for now.